Welcome students to my class of BA Part 2 English Literature. We are studying paper 1 section A, and in this lesson we are going to study the conclusion of John Keats' poem To Autumn. That is, we are going to study stanza 3rd of this poem of 3 stanzas, and this will be thus part 3rd and the conclusion of the poem. Also, with this lesson, we will conclude studying section A of paper 1. So, let us study the last stanza of this poem. So, in this last stanza, the poet once again addresses autumn as if it were a person. So there is this beginning with the rhetoric question as it was in the earlier stanza in a rhetoric manner. And the poet says to autumn, addresses the autumn by saying, "Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. While barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats moan among the river sallows, borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. And full grown lambs, what do? They bleat. So these are the different music that is characteristic of this autumn season. From hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft, the red breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So this last stanza is characteristic of the different auditory features or auditory sense has been evoked in this stanza, as in earlier there was this sense of sight which was evoked, as Keats is a poet who loves to study and observe nature in its various aspects, evoking the different sense organs. So in the first few lines, the poet talks directly to autumn. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. So, first of all, there is this memory of the season of spring, which brings with it a lot of liveliness. So, where are those songs of birds which are heard during the spring season? But at once, the persona tries to console autumn, not to think or worry about the season having left, and don't think about the music which has gone away with spring, because you, that is autumn, also possesses a music of its own. So what kind of a music does the autumn season have? That is described in detail by Keats in this poem. And so let us focus on those aspects of the music. So, what happens during autumn time? The poet says, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day. So, beautifully, the language Keats uses full of figurative language, and this is the use of a metaphor for the clouds which are blooming. Barred clouds here refers to the striped clouds, big patches of clouds which bloom just like flowers when the day is about to get over and it's twilight and soft dying day, that is the death of day. So, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. So, what happens when in the evening the sun is setting? So, the redness of the setting sun that gives a pink rosy hue to the plains, stubble plains where the harvest has been harvested field, characterizing the stubble. So, the setting sun's red color and the clouds covering the whole sky, this marks the beginning of the different sounds which the poet is now going to describe. So, what kind of sounds will come up now? Then, in a wailful choir, the small gnats moan among the river sallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. So, what kind of the sound you first begin to hear is that of a small insect like a mosquito called gnat, which moans the sadness which comes because of the dying day, and they are seen near the river. Sometimes the wind brings them up, or sometimes it moves them down. Either they sink or they move. So these are the small insects which appear, and their sound of moaning, which is recorded by the poet. So here we find that beginning with this reassuring tone, the speaker reassures autumn because maybe the autumn, if it were a person, feels sad about spring being a more popular, celebrated counterpart. So, how by consoling autumn that you also possess a music of your own, slowly Keats talks about what kind of music is there which we can hear in the spring autumn season. So it begins with the sounds the insects make like gnats near the shallow river when the wind moves them up or down. So when they flap their wings during the setting sun evening time, they produce a sound. So the background for music uh, has been created by the evening sky, and when the soft dying day, that is sunset, takes place. So near the river, after moving from that, the next few lines talk about and full grown lambs loud bleat. So after the gnat's mourning, we hear the lamb loud bleat. That is the sound given by the lambs from hilly bourne and hedge cricket sing. So then we move to the includes more animal sounds at the conclusion of the poem by lambs bleating near the hilly stream. Fully grown lambs because now they are sheep. And besides this sound, bleating sound of the sheep, we also hear hedge crickets. So the bleating of the lambs and the singing of the cricket. Cricket is again an insect that makes a shrill sound, and because it stays in hedges of plants, so the sound is heard from those hedges. So the olfactory sense is also evoked here, and this sound of the cricket is produced by the rubbing of its wings together. Besides these sounds, what else do we hear during the autumn season? And now with treble soft, what happens? The red breast whistles from a garden croft. So after the lambs bleat and the crickets singing, and before that the gnats is moaning, we hear the soft, the treble is a high note sung sweetly and softly. Okay, so and now with treble soft, the red breast is a bird with the front portion in red color. Therefore, it's a European bird which has the front portion of its body of red color. So it's called a red breast bird. And this whistles from a garden croft. So garden croft is an enclosed garden. So the various sounds which are produced, which give autumn season its beauty and music, just like spring has its own, is highlighted by Keats in this stanza. So the whistling, so just focus on the various kinds of sounds Keats emphasizes: the whistling of the redbreast, the moaning of the gnats, the bleating of the lambs, and so on and so forth. And gathering swallows twitter in the skies. Besides all these sounds, we also hear and see beautiful birds called swallows which twitter. They also give out this chirpy sound. That is the gathering found in the sky, and they are at this time uh, in large number moving in the sky and covering it with their sound, because then they will, as the season will move towards winter, they will migrate to warmer places. So in this poem, Keats has beautifully presented the different aspects of the autumn season, from maturation, ripening of fruits, moving on to the harvest that is produced during autumn season, and in the last stanza, he focuses upon the music which characterizes the autumn season. So, with this, we come to an end of Keats's ode. Thank you.